All right. Well, we're back up live.
Okay, sorry about that, guys, folks.
Yep.
So like I was saying, we have some new things coming up in NC. Basically, I think Amantine had kind of refurbished the yen system. Uh, Hoshi, Jake, can you talk a little bit about that?
The what now again?
The yen system. I know that we have like a way you can. I guess before we always had the ability to get yen during training, but
Yeah,
now it's a little bit different now, right?
yeah, pretty much. Anyone who was here before the hack, they would remember that every day you got paid from your job on the forum. Like I don't know. At the end there, it was based on your actual OOC rank. Before that, it was your IC rank. Uh, and when we moved over to the new forum, there was no module for daily pay like we had on the old one. So we went ahead and just made up this new system for getting yen through training, getting it through sacrificing training points, doing missions. Well, we've been getting a lot of complaints about how hard it is to get yen, so we went ahead and we upped the training from 35 points to 50, so you could sacrifice more to get more yen. We went ahead and dropped it back down to 35, but ended up giving you more yen than if you had sacrificed all those training points. So now, every week, you just get your training done, and you will get paid for that training. You can still buy the yen bundles as well if you need a little bit of an extra boost. You can still go on missions, which have had their pay increased as well. So at this point, it is completely feasible for a S-ranked player to buy one new jutsu every week, which is exactly what we were aiming for.
Okay. Well, what our creator of the site is Shane, who's everybody knows him as Yoma. Do you think he approve a certain system like this? Because I know that initially when we created a new site, he didn't want yen to be people to earn yen very quickly or easily, I guess. So that circumvent that his
No,
idea,
no.
I guess.
What he wanted was basically he did not want free yen like we had in the old system where you just, okay, I have an account so I get paid.
Okay,
So
yeah,
Yeah.
this, you do have to be active in order to get yen.
well, that makes sense. Yeah, so I guess you have to actually post something at least, and you have to train. You have to actually post and roleplay, post on anything. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Because I
Uh,
mean, if you go back to the
yeah.
old school days, people would like, for instance, I know I had a stint like this, but I think probably the biggest I can't call it an abuser, but I guess it's the technical phrase to use it was Hoshiko, the original Hoshi. Was
Heard
probably
of
the
her?
richest person on the site because he was an early S rank, so he got the S rank pay for almost a long entirety of his time spent on NC, and he'd go inactive. But this was before we had rules established to remove yen from people who were inactive for X amount of time, to make sure that they didn't gain anything while being inactive, right? So he was inactive for a long period of time, like 6 months, and he took all that money and he threw it in the bank, came back, well played a little bit, and then left again, and didn't come back for like another 6 months. Well, he eventually got so much bank interest, he had like 400 or 500 million yen.
Yeah.
And,
His
and he was
interest
gaining
was
like
more per day than I made in a week.
week. Yeah. Oh, please, are you kidding me? His interest, because for the record, because I know my interest was higher than what you made in a week, Jake. His interest weekly, no, because it was it per month? Was it per month? I think
Yeah, it was once a
No,
month.
it's from
interest. Yeah,
like
interest was
5%
per month. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was making somewhere around like 20 million interest a month or something crazy like that. Because I know I was making like 6. So I remember his being like I stood no chance of ever catching up to him, but it was always like a pipe dream of mine.
Well, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, right now the shop isn't like too expensive compared to before. I mean, it's easy. It's very conceivable to buy what you need. So
Yeah, one thing I pointed out to people actually was we had someone complaining about how hard it was to get jutsu now, but what people seem to have forgotten, it used to be that even at S rank doing missions all the time, you would wait a month or more just to buy one A rank jutsu.
remember back in the day when we had Kagabushin, like it costs like
Oh, that
three
was a
months of
million or so.
yeah, it costs like 3 months of
Yep.
yen.
More than that. But the
So
big thing is we dropped all the numbers by a decimal point. So the 125,000 became 12,500, for instance. we're gaining right now, just on the weekly training as an S rank, you're gaining nearly what was 100,000 yen a week on the old system. So you are getting an insane amount of yen right now.
Yeah, so, well, I don't know, is there any more new announcements that we want to discuss? That's the only one I could think of right now. So.
Well, there was the yen update. We actually went ahead and put out some new rules on certain ways things are handled, such as the swap card.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah,
also,
go over the swap card changes.
Yeah. Used to be it was 75 points and you could swap your anything. Bloodline, core ability, Kenjutsu. 75 points was a week and a half of training. So we upped that to 250 points to swap your bloodline and core ability. And now it's 500 to do the Kenjutsu. And a Kenjutsu, since it's such a core part of a character, we actually went ahead and said, you still have to make a 1,500 workout application that your council approves to even drop the thing. Then you have to wait a month, and you can apply with all the word requirements for that for a new one. Because your Kenjutsu is who you are, pretty much. You can't just, okay, I got my human body back, I'm no longer a puppet, so I'm going to go Suku. No, that ain't going to, no. You better have a good explanation for that.
Oh, I mean...
I always thought there was... I mean, before you do a swap, you have to have an RP, right? It's not just to pay it out and that's it. You have to have an RP.
Well,
it can still be pretty arbitrary.
Guidelines on what it had to be.
Yeah, there was no standard set. At least this way, the removal of it... So, the 500 points is more costly. So now you actually have to think about it. So, would this transition that I want to do be good for my character's development? So... If yes, you have to earn up that 500 points to just drop the Kenjutsu. And then you have to write the 1,500 word write-up to explain how this is going to happen. Because some of them are really hard to explain away. Short of, magic or deities or, magical figures of some sort. And then you have to, of course, build up a story for your new one and apply with that. Whereas before, like I said, 75 points, you could swap or Kenjutsu 3 times in a month. And as long as the council didn't care, you could get away with it. So we want people to value what they pick. So that way, when they're deciding on what they want to get, they put more thought into it, more understanding of the character. This is how it's going to affect me. This is what I'm going to be stuck with for a while if I really want it. So this is why I'm going to take it. So hopefully, when they think about these decisions, they put just a little extra weight on it, so that way it feels a little bit more impactful. Because before, Kenjutsus felt a little cheap.
I mean, I feel that it's the same concept should be applied to also Bloodlines as well, because there's certain Bloodlines
that still require an RP to get rid of them, but it doesn't require a 1,500 workout when it's on it. But
yeah,
I mean, Bloodlines,
the concept is still the same. I mean, you have something that becomes a part of your character. Like removing it's not like a jutsu. It's a whole like state of being. Like if you're in Chia, it's not like. It's just so much of skills that you have. It's what you're born with and things like that. You can't like say I'm not Chi anymore.
Oh, so like I said, and that's another thing. So Bloodlines, so core abilities are skill sets. Reasonably, anybody could have a different core ability at any given time because you just have to learn it. It's a specialty. Bloodlines, you would reasonably think everyone could possibly have 2. One from your mother, one from your father, right? And you would inherit both, and you'd have a dominant one and a dormant one. So you could work, some story where one becomes recessive and the other one takes over. So you have at least that logic sitting there.
Hang on. Nick wants us to pause the podcast. He has to go to the bathroom.
No, that's not how that works at all.
That's not how it works live.
No.
You can do that on YouTube.
No,
he doesn't have a pause button?
Nope, he has no pause button. Well, he does. It just doesn't work how he wants it to. So, unfortunately, we have no bathroom. See, if you wanted to wait until the intermission, he could have gone to the bathroom then, but he couldn't hold it. So, that's not how it's going to work.
But
one last thing I want to add. Well, I want to shift gears a little bit here, but recently I know Contract. I'm not sure if Contract or Dev Team announced the Contract Mastery ability. I know a lot of people appreciate, actually like that ability because basically it allows you to teach a contract to a different person who doesn't really have a contract. So Was that like an intention? Like, is there
Yeah.
a sense of like possibility of breaking if someone uses that ability?
Well, I mean, this would be more a question for Umashi actually, because his
Yeah.
team came up with that and Dev just looked it over. But I mean, yeah, it was purposely put in there that you can teach a contract to someone. So,
Okay.
because right now the only way to get a contract if they're not doing an event is an RP topic that there's one that started before Mist closed and it is still ongoing. So they take forever and a day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but
they've
having
always
to
taken long.
allow people to teach it to one another actually will probably boost the amount of people who have contracts by a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, once Yumashi comes in, our guest star comes in, we can discuss more about the contracts in general and things like that.
Also, one other thing I wanted to do, though, another announcement was made today that a lot of people are probably going to be happy about. Down towards the bottom of the forums, there is a new area called Archive Forum. And in there, you can actually access all of the old role plays from Miss and Leaf before they shut down. So you can go back if you were a member of Leaf or Mist before they got closed. You can actually go back, find an RP that you made, say, back in June of last year, link it to people, use it for references, things of that nature. So that should have a lot of people happy.
Yeah, I just hope that we would like to have it where we can like get threads from the old site, because that kind of
That's probably not going to happen. Someone asked me to find something from there just the other day. I told them I'd try. I can't find a thing on it.
Nope.
The way the old site's set up,
it's pretty tricky.
We've actually decided if it's not for an OCR transition, we're probably not going to actually try it anymore because I spent close to 12 and a half hours so far looking for this. I can't find a thing. Someone actually asked us to find some stuff for them a while back, and it just takes up too much time that could be spent doing other things on NC.
Right. It's really unfortunate because it's a lot of good threads.
Maybe so, but since it's a new reality, a new universe, as it were, in this version, those threads really don't apply.
Well,
anymore.
it applies a lot in cloud, so you can maintain almost everything. So.
Except you guys still rewrote it all. Like you guys used the old version of NC as your basis. Like you used the timeline that occurred of all the actual PCs that were within it. But you guys still had to rewrite that history. You had to rewrite how cloud was structured, your government, your financial system, like how all that stuff worked. You guys still had to rewrite when we came to this.
Yeah, of course. But like the character relationships and some of the things we had built up.
But
that stuff's not there anymore.
Yeah, but you didn't need those topics from the old site in order to do that. Collectively, a lot of people have those memories, and you can just pull it all together, and boom. It's just like me. If I wanted to pull, actually, I'm a terrible example, because all of my old characters have some sort of standing point that I could probably pull back from. Like, I was going to say Ryudo, for instance, but he's, rewritten in the Cloud's history, so he's kind of there. But I don't need to go to the old site to find an old character that I've roleplayed as and bring it over, because I know what the character is, and he doesn't exist here, so you have to rewrite everything from anyway. You just have to use the same name. That's what it ultimately comes down to, is the name. And then if you want them to have a similar history as to a previous character that you had on the old site, you have to write it up as such and then just submit it to the appropriate council, and they'll approve it for you. I mean, that's really all it comes down to. That's the only difference, is can you get the same history that you had before? Well, I mean, you have to put a little extra effort into it. I mean, again, not exact,
close, but
it can be. Yeah, it can be similar. It can be as close as you can get within the confines of our new universe. If we're gonna get nitpicky about it.
Sure. I'm not complaining. Just sometimes a lot of people reminisce a lot of things, or you kind of would like to have that ability to read old threads and stuff like that. But if we can't do it, then that's just how it is. So. But anyways,
there's only so many people who actually have access to the old site. I know at least 2 members of the admin team who don't, probably more. Reason being, Shane is the one who handles that, and he is very, very picky about security after the hack. So.
Yeah, but it's let's not go into that too much. So. Well, I want to
But, yeah.
I want to go into current events now. What's going on in Cloud specifically? Oh, Cloud and all the other villages and stuff like that. So right now, Cloud, we still have like branch events still going on from like Hikari and Daisuke and things like that. So if everybody still wants to join the event, you're free to go start it or continue. Um, at the gates, Natsu has collapsed Natsu has collapsed. So previously he was kind of like crazy because he was
Chucking fireballs and everything.
yeah, pretty much he was doing weird thing. He was throwing a kunai at a cane, and then you pretty much create a wall of fire.
Kane.
Was it Kami? No, it was
Kane.
oh Kane. That's how you pronounce
It's
it.
not pronounced Kane.
I'm very terrible at Japanese names, so forgive me. So, yeah, so, yeah, so I'm not sure what's his story is, how it's gonna affect Cloud. Zenichi, he's still in prison. Well, not really in prison, but he's being interrogated. And what's kind of funny is that he tried to force entry into the village, and he's trying to use it as a front to persuade the village to hire him as a a mercenary or whatever. But since he failed to enter the village, he really doesn't have any bargaining power right now. So, and
Hey, you guys caught me. I'm very good at what I do.
so I want to see how he actually gets through with that. So we have a mission going on. I'm the one who's actually monitoring the mission, and it's going to be kind of a transition into the Old Gods arc, and a lot of people want to know like how that's going to come about. The Old Gods arc is going to basically be similar to like the old Demon arc, but the difference is that the Demon arc, which is a bunch of demons, the Old Gods are actually a higher spiritual entity than the actual demons. So it's going to be more involved and more interesting story because it's not these old gods are going to rise from wherever they are from civilians. So I'm going to try to use the corporations that we have that are founded in Cloud right now, for instance, like Titan and IBT. They're going to help raise these people, resuscitate these old gods to overpower the shinobi. But they're not going to realize what the danger is for doing that because the old gods might turn on them. So we'll see what happens. The next thing, I realize a lot in Cloud, there's a lot of like yokai stuff going on, like a lot of demon hunting. For instance, Daisuke and Junko are currently in the own thread doing like a random demon attack, whatever. And guess who's actually part of that thread is Akuma.
Oh yeah, the demon hunter.
Yeah. So when you see Akuma, you're gonna see Yuziku following him too. So I don't know. It's kind of weird because Cloud's all about demons, all yokai. It's like it's weird.
Well, very symbological thing there.
Yeah.
Speaking of Akuma,
Yeah.
the fight with man is officially over.
Oh yeah, I saw he had 1 HP at the end. That's never happened before. Like,
Well, he's a Joshinist. The hit that kills him actually stops him at 1 hit point. It's like that Pokemon move.
oh yeah,
Destiny
right.
something or other. Yeah. It stops them at 1 hit point. They can't drop below that for the rest of that round. So, but mana is hitting a lot of problems off site, which actually bothers me because, see, I didn't want to actually admit this, but now that he's not going to be here, I guess I can. What was going to happen was pretty much, everyone was going to finish the fight. Akuma or Ayumu was going to kill him. And then after they left the thread, Hoshikata was going to use Combat Medic to revive him.
Oh, that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah. But that's
he could be a puppet though, right? I mean, wouldn't he be
No, Combat Medic just brings them back to life.
Okay.
But you can only do it if if you're in the thread where they die already.
Okay.
So I was going to use that to try and get a bargaining chip Icely over on mana. But yeah, that fight's over. So at this point, probably everyone's going to go get drunk.
That's the logical thing, right? I mean,
yeah, that's what you do is you get drunk. Also from missing, I know Shu, I believe, is still in Sand, basically being your Mednan Senin, isn't she, CJ?
Yeah, more or less. She's doing a great job at it, at least.
And I know Karurosu, used to be Keita in Stone, is actually in Stone, I think. He's trying to build an army to kill his older brother. So,
okay.
Yeah, fun stuff going on there.
So, Mana's still in the village too. Apparently,
Who?
Mana?
She's dead.
No, not Mana. Sorry, Masa. Sorry, Masa.
Masa.
Masa
Yeah.
is in the village, and she doesn't trust Hoshikata at all. And
She knows him too well.
yeah,
She was there when he first pulled his first actual political move that just completely screwed someone over. And she saw how devious he is.
so I guess you have to watch it back now. I guess, right?
Oh no, she will not attack him.
No, I'm talking about you. You gotta watch it back because one slip up and you're out of here, right?
It's been that way since I started playing this guy, man. I'm used to that.
Yeah.
Although Hoshikata is actually, dropping his guard around someone, so
Yeah, I know who.
we'll see how that turns out. So how's the sand stuff going?
Yeah.
Well, it's going. It's
still going. I mean, it's been like what 4 months.
Yeah, well, like I said, so the activity is largely based on me because I am a singular mod for this event, and unfortunately, I have hit a bit of a slow period because I just picked up a new job, but I haven't been able to post for people. But things have still been advancing along really well, and it's exciting because we have actually now, I think, a handful of threads that are really deep and developed. Like, people are actually hitting key story points with these antagonists, and they're now understanding there is a deeper meaning to this event other than we've come in to kill your peoples, all your base belongs to us kind of thing. And so people are digging in the right directions, and they're going to start getting themselves a lot of useful tools to be able to help really swing how this event's going to go under. And I'm actually happy to say that we had someone come back from an inactivity, Roku. He reactivated, brought his character back to speed, woke up, and his character was in a coma, so he came back in the middle of this whole thing happening, right? And he went down the route that I was keeping my fingers crossed that someone would eventually do, and he basically pulled a Batman. He was like, okay, so there's a lot of things going on here. It's probably not wise for me to walk around and let everyone see my face. So he literally gets like a superhero get up and a crazy looking mask and like a hood, and he's got like a hood with ears on it, and he's gallivanting around the village like being a vigilante, beating up on criminals and prisoners and psych patients and things like that, the people that have broken out. So I'm hoping that we get an opportunity to be able to put him into something more interesting other than just beating up your average everyday thugs, to give him a decent direction to go with this superhero-esque style he's decided to pull. And I've been waiting for this because it's a good method to, because like I said, his character's been in the coma in character for I'm not even sure how long. I'm going to say 6 months, maybe 6 to 8 months. And intelligence-wise, because he was in a coma, he's not actually on the list of people to look out for. So he's walking around completely unknown. I think there's only 1 or 2 other people that have 0 in terms of notoriety. So absolutely 0. He's 0. He's very powerful, and now he's active. So he has this really great opportunity to be able to sneak around and really pull something big. And he's just got to choose what he wants to do. And he's actually going in a great direction right now because he's picking a subsection of criminals that are executing civilians in one of the residential areas. And so he looks like he's trying to work his way up that chain now, which I think is going to be really exciting.
So I got a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
We've drawn the parallels between this and the Dark Knight Rises before, so now you have Batman going around.
Are
you going to pull out Bane at some point?
Well, let's look back at our villains here, because we've introduced 7 characters. I hold up only one hand, but I say 7. We have Kaito, who is their leader. He wears an eye patch, not a breathing apparatus. We have Shoki, who's a 7'2" Gigante type. He's just a giant, and he carries around a giant cleaver. We have someone who wears a mask all the time, so I mean, that's really not Danish, which is funny because the only thing it isn't covered is their mouth. We've got the Wolfman. Yeah, we really don't have a parallel for Bane, unfortunately.
Need one.
We could. I mean, because I've introduced a bunch of sub-characters, both good and bad, for both sides of people to take advantage of.
Someone to break this fake Batman's
Um,
back, and then have him recover in a training montage.
But he just came out of a coma. I don't want to put him back in the hospital. Like he's already suffered enough.
It's character development. Well, no, what you do is you PM that player, and you ask for permission to say one of those villains put him in the coma.
Right. Could be a thing. Could be a thing. I'll have to take that into consideration. But yeah, so I mean, no direct parallels to pull from there. But yeah, so like I said, so a lot of people have had an opportunity to split off and, you know, get some direct focus, and it's important that. So every character has a very specific history. Like all the Cabal characters have histories tied within Wind Country. Maybe they may not be from Wind Country, but they have some serious history involvement. And if you dig deep enough and you start unveiling these secrets, it is when you kind of anchor yourself into that NPC storyline, which is going to help people earn some interesting rewards towards the tail end of the event when things start winding down. And it's more, so we're getting more, you know, one-on-one interactions, which are going to be a good way to really give people a thumbs up for putting in the effort and latching onto something that they found interesting and just rolling with it. And like I said, so far we have 3 people who are like in deep with these characters, and they're doing a really great job, and they're asking the right questions, and they're doing the right things, and they're causing trouble where they need to. So we're going to be moving forward. And I've said this before. People can quote me on this, and I've made myself a liar repeatedly. But assuming work does not slam me this week, I'm going to move our time frame forward, and a bunch of stuff is going to happen. I've got like 10 mini events written up that's going to roll out. We're going to have separate mission centers for people that want to do missions to help the village, or people who want to do missions to harm the village in case, you know, someone went to the anarchist side, which someone has. So if he wants to gain some additional yen, he can just run missions, you know, for killing people in the village or burning buildings down or assassinating people, sort of things like that. And then, of course, yeah, there's many events that are going to pop up that will also offer out yen stipends and stat points, depending upon where you're at in terms of power level and stuff like that. And if you don't answer these events, they're going to have rippling effects. So if 5 things pop up simultaneously and they're all related, but you can only manage to deal with 3 of those topics, those 2 topics that weren't dealt with are going to have consequences. So it's going to require people to actually put some effort into this to make sure that they can cover all the ground covered and to make sure nothing happens, or else they're going to be at a disadvantage later on.
So in the end of the event, is the Cabal going to survive the assault?
I can't answer that.
Can't answer that.
No, it depends on the people. So some of the Cabal members have a tendency towards violence, like they enjoy it. But it is a very real possibility, if people put in the right amount of effort and work into one of the characters, that they could easily turn them. They could turn them to their side, and all of a sudden you now have an inside guy. You could dig, if you put in the effort and you dig that deep, you can do that. It is a possibility. Like I said, I don't put any restraints on anything, but I reward people who take the risks that would put them in, you know, hot water. Like I said, Homura is the best example of this. He's not even a high power level person. He just hit B rank. He just hit B rank like 2 weeks ago. And these Cabal NPCs are statted, so they don't have like the traditional 600 stats, but they have secondaries that give them equivalent. They give them equivalent numbers, because remember, they're not ninjas, so they don't have all the same ninja-y things. But basically, yeah, in one-on-one combat, he would get slaughtered. And he's currently in a topic with 3 of those people. So he could get squashed like a bug in an instant. But he's playing it smart. And he's gaining allies on the anarchist side. So if he wants to really do this deep cover, double backstab to save the village, you know, end game that he's planning for, he's got a really great foundation to start with.
That's very interesting. So the reputation system, does that affect the ability to turn people over, like to the side? I mean,
not necessarily. It does play on, you know, so like I said, for him, for instance, because I'm going to update everyone's notoriety when we do the time switch, and then from there it's going to change